What's going on, family? It's your girl, Guruji Chastity, and we are back with another... Ooh, what? My cone ain't go out. Little birdie cut. We are... Hey, family, we can tell. I hope you can already tell what today's episode is going to be about, because I can't even get it out. I'm just so hyped. It's about what makes you happy. That's the happy dance right there. Yeah, family, today I want to talk about what makes you happy. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because, you know, it's 2021. We've been having a panorama. It's crazy. And if you don't know what makes you happy, you will go crazy out here. That's just that on that. So, boom, let's just get into it, family. The first tidbit that I want to share when it comes to figuring out what makes you happy is we got to know that happiness is an inside job. Now, I know we didn't heard that before. I done forgot what little cliche saying that was about, that happiness is an inside job. But I want to take that a little bit deeper so we can break down that understanding. The reason why we need to find happiness internally is because any happiness that is external means that it ain't gonna last. It ain't. That means that you had to attach something to you in order to bring happiness. Well, what happens when that thing that you attach to yourself goes away? Or it can't fulfill that same role, or it don't work the same? Then what happened to your happiness? It is null and void, right? So money, what happens if you lose all your money? Material, a house, what happens if you lose your house? A partner, well, what happens if you lose your partner, right? You see how that goes. Anything external that we attach to ourselves to be the core principle of happiness is going to change, right? Because change is the only constant in this dimension, okay, family? And so when we say happiness, we are talking about internal happiness. How can you be happy if I just stood up right now and said, make happiness, right? Create a state of happiness. I should be able to get the job done. I shouldn't say, ooh, give me a pen, give me this, or I need this, I need that. I need to be able to sit there and find some happiness in here. Because if I can't find no happiness in here, whatever I try to find out here to bring me happiness is going to be very small. It's going to be very small in remedying that. It's only going to do its work just a little bit. You see what I'm saying? So figuring out how you can be happy with what you got is the goal. You don't need no more nothing to get more happiness. You need to go inward, right? You need to go more inward to find more happiness. You don't need to go outward more. Right? Again, happiness is an inside job. And then boom, family. What makes you happy? This is the question that I want you to be asking, that I want you to get clear about, that I want you to get curious about. And what we're talking about today is important reasons why you need to find happiness, and how to find happiness in a healthy way, in a conscious manner, right? So the reason why you need to find happiness is because, again, happiness is an internal job, not an external job. And the more you go searching out in the world for happiness, the more you're going to be unhappy. Okay? And so that's why that's important. It's important to know exactly what happiness is and how to go about it, right? And so happiness itself shows up in everybody's reality different, but it is a state of being that allows you to be in direct contact with universal life force energy, that allows you to be open and to be receptive, okay? That is happiness. But how you get there is up to you, right? It has nothing to do with me. All I can show you is tips and tricks on how I got to mine, and I want you to test it out to see if it can help you get to yours, okay? And so next, this the sauciest of the sauce of the sauce. Follow what feels good, not what you think is right. Okay, now, it's that mic drop, because that's going to get you in your body and out of your head. When you are doing what you think is right, You really are processing shit. And it's based on some shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or somebody else's blueprint, a blueprint of morality. And morality is somebody else's perspective of right and wrong. And we know there is no such thing as right and wrong. There just is. It's low vibrational, mid vibrational, and high vibrational. Just what level are you operating at, right? And so to get really good, to get really good at finding out what makes you happy, you have to follow what feels good instead of what you think is right. And you will begin to see a big shift in your life because you're not always worried about what someone else may think. You aren't worried about trying to do the right thing, because what is that, right? There is no such thing as good or bad. There just is, right? And so again, when you follow what feels good instead of what you think is right, it allows you to be in the present moment because you're in your body. You're not just thinking. It causes you to breathe. And we all know what breath is. That is universal life force energy. And when we're breathing, we can make better choices for ourselves. That way we don't get amygdala hijack. Okay? Amygdala hijack is when you will receive stimuli from your environment, which causes you to have emotions. Your amygdala is the first part of the brain that stimuli goes to. Your amygdala prioritizes fear and anger, which is fight or flight. Right? It's very intentional. We needed that, right? But if you're not breathing, you got 90 seconds to make a choice. And if you're not breathing, your choice is going to be that fear response, that fight or flight. Well, you ain't going to get to growth and health in fight or flight. You ain't going to get to the right choice in fight or flight. You're going to be thinking. You're going to be very logical. And you're going to make a decision based off of survival, based off of lack, right? So you need to breathe. And coming out of your head and into your body will cause you to breathe. And one way to maintain that is to follow what feels good and not what you think is right, family. All right, we on a roll. We on a roll. You feel me? But we're going to take a quick break. Sis, now is the time to take that leap of faith, invest in funds, and get to healing. I offer one-on-one coaching to help you overcome abandonment, body image issues, and people-pleasing behavior. If you are ready to do the work, sis, I'm here with an open space, an open and judgment-free space for you to do your work. Hit me up, let's talk. DM me or head to gurujichastity.com, click Healing Services. Or if you have a mother wound, click Heal Your Mother Wound, and let's get together and heal, sis. Let's go. All right, family, we back. And let's just hop right on into it, right? We was talking about what you can start to do now to find your path to happiness. The next thing we need to talk about is the inner child and the ego. The inner child knows where to find your joy, right? It knows how to find joy, but it is the ego who wants to control the joy, okay? So, I mean, again, let's take it back to these contexts, to these words. Inner child and ego. Child, adult. Simple. Don't that child always know how to make you have a good time? That child always know how to make you laugh. That child could have been doing something to get on your nerves and you can't do nothing but laugh, right? The child always brings the joy. And I don't know the right or the exact Bible verse, but they talk about to get into the kingdom of heaven, you have to have a childlike heart. Your heart needs to be as light as a feather in the studies of my eye, right? And that is that childlike, that pureness, that innocence, right? And it's the inner child that can always guide us there, but it's the ego who always wants to talk about responsibilities. I need to do this, or them shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or we don't have time for that, or that wouldn't be helpful, right? That's what the ego does. The ego tries to make sense of everything and makes everything logical, whereas the inner child cares nothing about that, right? The inner child can never be physically harmed, right? And so it's not worried about pain and suffering. It's worried about having a good time, how to exude love, and how to help fellow humans. But the ego can be hurt, and so it's worried about having its feelings hurt. meeting the wrong person, being at the wrong place at the right time, needing to worry about how it's going to get from plan A to plan B, or worrying about how that person made them feel, or if that person going to take something from them. But the inner child don't care nothing about that. So when you are in the practice of following or trying to find where happiness resides for you, tap into your inner child. If you have kids around you, hang out with them, start to see things from their perspective. But if not, this is what you need to do in your mind's eye, family. For me, what I could see in my mind's eye was that my back was turned to my inner child because I was in protection mode. I was doing all of the work so my inner child could be an inner child, and so I could protect it. But just like we do in real life, we don't include the children in the conversation. We don't ask them what they want, how it impacts them, what would they like to do, what perspective can they lend. And it was in the awareness alone, in my mind's eye, when I turned around and looked at that child, before I even started to ask that child what it may need or how can I help it, just acknowledging just acknowledging my inner child with eye contact and conscious awareness, it started the healing process, family. Just like when we cut our finger, right? It is the awareness, right? It's the awareness, and our awareness is that we clean it off and we put a band-aid on it and we sit back and allow our body to do the rest. The same thing happens when we touch our consciousness with our pain, right? So when we just turn around and face that inner child, we place our consciousness on our pain. Normally our inner child is in a lot of pain and it needs assistance. And when we place that awareness, that conscious awareness on that relationship, the healing begins. And we don't have to do a whole bunch. It's the ego who has to do a lot of doing, but it's the inner child who just wants to be, who just wants to feel, who just wants to exist, right? So when we want to tap back into what makes me happy, those are some of the things that you want to start to look at, family. What is that relationship like between your ego and your inner child? And if they need to start having a conversation, if that inner child needs to be included so that you can have some fun, you need to start doing that, family. All right? All right? So look, this one being hidden, this being hot. So I want to share some powerful show notes that will allow you to integrate all the things that we talked about today. And that is the breathwork basics, okay? Click the show notes and practice breathing, right? So that you always have access to these steps to follow what feels good, not what you think is right. To know that happiness is an internal job and not an external source. And to start to include your inner child in the conversation. To do any and all of that, you need to be breathing, family, okay? You need to be breathing. And so, in the show notes, check out that breathwork basics video. Until the next time, I love you. Peace out. Bye.